Good afternoon, everyone. BC Richfield here, coming to you live from London. It's just gone a couple of minutes past midday, making it the same UTC. A big shout out to everybody joining us live today, as well as everybody that's watching this on catch up. How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? The start of a brand new week that means that there's opportunity everywhere. Alex, J to the X, good morning to you. Calvo, my friend, how are we doing? Hoping you're not driving too far today. My good friend Demi, wonderful to have you with us. Welcome to the show. Foreign Trade Cryptos, great to see you here again. Our competition winner, Deepak, how are we doing? DYDX winner from last week, due to get his prize this week. So very excited from him and big congratulations. Nit, my friend, Daniel as well. Good afternoon, boss. How are we doing? E. Gerard Crypto, what's happening? In it again, looking for another update on what you think of ZIL. It would be my pleasure, my friend. We'll get that on there for sure. Craigie boy, how are we doing? Wonderful to see you all. Loads of people live with us today, which is just awesome. London today, Cavo, my neck of the woods, stuck in traffic. That is London's MO, mate. Basically, you're pretty much quicker to crawl around London than you are to get there in a car, or I imagine with what you're driving, mate, as well, at a very advanced level. That is very much tricky. That, just the idea itself starts to give me heart palpitations. You know, I've got to that stage in my life now where I love being in the city, loved having beautiful offices, living up there, enjoying the West End, the East, just the whole place. I love the culture of London, the architecture, everything. But just got to that stage now where I just wanted to be, you know, close people, my beautiful husky, and just, you know, space, right? Apart from obviously digitally being here with all of you guys. And I do love traveling, you know, to the shows and bits and pieces. It really is just wonderful to be around you all. Anyway, what I want to do today, got a really busy show, got a really exciting announcement for you as well. So I'm going to do a little announcement now, and then we're going to do it and cover it again at the end of the show, just so that everybody is able to get involved. Then we're going to dive into Bitcoin. We're going to cover ETH. I want to cover the ADS token, which we've been bringing you for a while, which is a project that really, really excites us here, both on a fundamental and a technical level. So I want to see where we are with that, getting ourselves ready. And then we're going to cover a lot of altcoins, right? Because I really do feel like, look, I'm not saying the market's just going to rip from now. I'm going to cover the economic news as well, that I think can be a major factor here. But we need to paint a picture of what the economic landscape looks like, all right? We can't get carried away and just be pure degen about these things, right? We have to think sensibly. Where are the major players positioning themselves? Are we really in a risk-on environment that's going to be healthy for crypto to thrive? And if that is the case, what are these leading indicators we've got now? Things are performing very differently against Bitcoin. You know, we're looking to Ethereum more now, the team and I, in terms of being that lead. So what does this all mean? Well, it just means that hopefully we've got a nice, exciting show coming up for you. But what I really want to start with are two really, really cool announcements, right? So the first of which is the Bird Nest, the most amazing company that I've had the pleasure of working alongside now for over 3 years, and our talisman, our lead legend himself, Crypto Bird. The team there and Crypto Bird himself have come together, as we did previously when we had that turbulence in the market, and they just want to offer something really, really cool for you all. So let me just run through it very quickly. We'll go through it again at the end of the show as well. So if you go over to Crypto Burb's profile, it's really, really simple. It's at crypto_burb. You should see it on the screen right now. If you don't, let me know. All you need to do is go over there. Now, what Adrian has done is he put together a trading program that his entire, myself, obviously my wonderful trading team over there. I mean, I call them my trading team. I have the pleasure of being the head of the trading team there, but they are all just individual legends in their own right. We've all come together because we just want to help people out at the moment, right? I know a lot of people have got burned. You know, we've got portfolios that are suffering as well. You know, you don't make every single decision right in this space, no matter what some people will make you believe on social media. So while the trading team continues and draws on into another month of profitability through January, and the statistics are looking great for February as well, you know, some of those investment portfolios are really kind of bleeding out at the moment. Right now, we always advocate to make sure you're employing proper risk management, and that means that we haven't really been that exposed to huge amounts of pain. And the reason for that is because of the protocols and the strategies we put in place. So what we really want to do is open up the Discord and share this with everyone. So starting from today, Adrian is starting a 30-day program to help everybody get back on their feet, recover any of those losses from all of those crazy ass meme coin rugs, all the nonsense going on Solana, the Trump coin stuff, just this whole kind of over turbulent, over kind of, it seems like a bit of an extreme phrase, but it has been a very crime and scammy cycle at the moment. And we just want to put everybody away from that and say, look, at the moment, those waters remain very, very troubled. But what you can do in these conditions is prepare yourself for when things get better. And if not, then simply learn to trade the market both ways, okay? So what we're going to do is we're opening up the Discord, all right? It's going to be completely free of charge. We are limited to the amount of people that we can take in. There are a lot of spaces. We're opening up as many as we can. Now, aligned with this, we've been doing the amazing, what Adrian has been doing, the amazing hyper giveaway recently, for which we've already had a winner. Now, that is the case that if you're signed up to him, if you subscribe, you can do it for just $1 a month. Then you can get yourself into that prize pool. And every month, he's giving away the entire amount that the subscribers pay, every single penny. We do not take 1 cent, 1 penny from that pot. That goes completely out to you guys, and we run that on a regular basis. So please do go and check that out. All right. So the one thing to say, there's one small caveat, that subs will have priority purely because they're going to be members of Adrian, but we are opening up a massive batch behind that as well. But if you can afford the $1, just remember, it gets you access to things like this. It also gets you access to the hyper giveaway, you know, for which you can stand to win several $100s, several $1,000s. As it gets bigger as well, it'll be tens of thousands, you know, and we're really aiming for this to be hundreds of thousands or more. All right. There are, historically, when you look at seasonality reports, we are a very good stage of the cycle at the moment. I know it doesn't feel like it, but if this thing isn't going to be bottoming out very soon, then we move into different protocols and we learn and we teach members how we would then look to position ourselves if we're moving in towards a bear market, which at the moment, you know, there are some mild signals firing off, but really don't think that's the case. I think the market's trying to digest a lot of uncertainty at the moment. All right. So all you need to do is go through onto Crypto Burb's Twitter. All right. This post is pinned right at the top, and just follow the instructions on there. Yeah. You can choose to subscribe or not. Subscribers will get priority, right? But there will be other seats open as well. And if you want to be on the list, all you need to do is like, share, and comment on that post, and we will make sure that you get access to the Discord. The other really cool thing is I'm going to be teaching everybody how to work a completely standalone trading system with proven profitability. All right. So just so that you guys know, this is a system that I use to trade. I use this system with members. It's an intraday trading system. And not just that, we've got the system that was built by our very own Crypto Burb and Razoon, which is a swing trading system. We're going to be providing the details, the trading, the instructions, the strategy that you guys need to maximize this system, all right, or these systems. So if that sounds of interest, gives you even more reason to come in and sign up. All right. So again, you can do this for absolutely free, or you can do it for $1 a month if you want to get priority, but also want to be part of the hyper giveaway. Now, you should see that being shared in the chat right now. All right. So get involved, go and smash it. I really do think that it's an awesome opportunity for everyone. All right, again, at no cost to yourselves, unless you want to subscribe, which gives you, a guaranteed space, although there's plenty of others open as well. But also you can get into the hyper giveaway, and just out of nowhere you can find out that you've won potentially life-changing money. Okay, Lily O, hello my friend, and welcome. How are we all doing today? So one more exciting bit of news for you guys, all right, and it comes from our amazing partners over at DYDX who did that brilliant giveaway, for which was just such a lot of fun. And our friend here, Deepak, won that last time around. He's getting his payout at some point this week from DYDX. We've also got him some access to the Discord as well. So, what a wonderful thing to do. Again, what I really love about conditions like this is you really get to separate the wheat from the chaff, all right? And you see these amazing companies come out that really, really want to help people. So take advantage of that. So with that in mind, I've got some really exciting news for you all regarding DYDX as well. And that's that they've just launched their new trading app, right? So if you've got iOS, yes, if you've got your iPhone, you've got iOS, go and check this out. We've had a lot of early stage exposure to this that we've had to keep our lips sealed about. But they have been working tirelessly in the background with a pure focus on the user experience. The whole point of this is they have created just the most incredible, accessible, easy to use interface on this app to just make sure that you're not making mistakes. Things are very, very simple, easy to engage with. And honestly, I just think it's really, really awesome. I think they just take so much time and just so much care in this as well. So I think it's only fair to bring your attention to it. It's launched today. And over here at the Bird Nest, right, we do believe that trading should be seamless, uncomplicated, accessible, right? Then you can focus on your education, and then it's just one less thing that's in your way from becoming successful. And this is an app that you can literally just long, short, open, close, manage a position with just a simple slide. All right, so make sure to go and check it out. That's available for you over on iOS right now, and we'd be really keen to hear your feedback on that. So I'll give a little reminder at the end of the session as well about the giveaway. Really want everybody to be involved in it and to go and get that involved. So Craigie boy, that's very kind of you, mate. We really do try, right? At the end of the day, we've all been through different paths to be in this industry professionally. Some of us, from traditional market backgrounds and that as well. And look, everybody gets help when when you're working at any kind of professional level or full-time level in any industry. The chances are you've got some help along the way, and sometimes it just really is important to pay that forward. All right, Tim the Chin, how we doing, buddy? Take a look at Sol. We absolutely can, mate. If anybody's got a fire extinguisher, then whatever Sol memes I left in that portfolio could probably do with a top up from that, because they are still melting away hard. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to see a shift away from that kind of speculative cycle now, and really kind of back into that flight for quality. Right, so let's take a look, shall we? Let's dive in, and we'll get back to this a little bit later on. If you have got any other requests, do let me know. We've got about between 30 and 40 minutes left in the show as well, so we should be able to cover a lot. Now, as we can see at the moment on the screen, we have the Bitcoin chart. Now, this is what I'm interested in on a 4-hour scale. I'm going to break this down and take this back to the weekly for you to let you know where the levels come from. But ultimately, we're within two ranges at the moment. We have this higher time frame range set by the mother bar high and the mother bar low. We have this internal high time frame range set by the inside bar low, which is the IBL, you can see at the bottom here, and the IBH, which is the inside bar high. All right, now for anybody interested in learning more about how to trade that pattern, how to spot it, how to take advantage of it, you can find a post pinned at the top of my Twitter, okay, which I'll pop in here now, which is BC_Richfield. Teaches you how to trade this pattern, how to spot it, how to take advantage of it. But we're applying basic range trading principles here, which means that we take our higher time frame range. We're looking for how price reacts at the extremes. Yeah, so ultimately we've got this move here, this move here. Okay, so with range trading, what we're focusing on is mean reversion. Now, price spends more of its time in a range than it does trending, which might surprise some people. All right, but the whole point of this is, how do we get these indications? Now, when we've got these key levels, what we're looking for here is where buyers and sellers are most active. Price ultimately is settled by the very simple principles of supply and demand. Now, if people consider Bitcoin, let's call it a good deal down here, yeah, if people consider it value, then people are going to step in and buy, right? Obviously people bought quite heavily at this level, so we're, keen to know what happens to the liquidity there. People bought at this level, people sold at this level up here, people sold at this level again. So all of a sudden, what we're in a game of is we're saying, okay, well, if price comes down to this level, yeah, and then gets back in the range, then the chances are it's going to head for the highs. If price comes up to this level, gets back into the range, chances are we're going to be heading for the lows. It's purely based on liquidity. So how do we tell what price is going to do? Well, you never know for sure, but what we're looking for at these kind of levels is acceptance or rejection, okay? So again, with these two areas here, which shape up very clearly, we can see the long upside wick here, the downside wicks forming here as price very quickly steps back in the range. Now, my dear friend and just one of the best range traders in the space, Trader Dank, my boy, has a brilliant story about Johnny and the pizza. If you come across him, if you haven't reached out to him, if you don't follow him, make sure you go and do so. But just say to him, BC told us on his live show that you need to tell us about the story of Johnny and the pizza. I won't ruin it for you, but it's the basic principles of, if you're looking to break out to the downside, yeah, or to the upside here of a range, what do you want to see? Well, quite simply, if you're going to leave this, then you want to see strength. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means that you want to see, first of all, some candles closing outside of here. You want to see a higher set, and then you want to see an area that was rejecting price start to support it. Yeah, so you can obviously take some high risk positions around here, but typically what you want to do is wait for this breakout, wait for this kind of level to be formed here. Yeah, wait for this shift in structure or another confirmation of structure, and then look to trade to the next key liquidity point. Now, alternatively, if you get this, which we can see here is the deviation, I'll always think of SC's voice when I hear that, but we get the deviation, price steps back in the range. What's that telling you? Well, it's telling you it's not getting acceptance below this level. So people that are buyers down here want to sell this to willing buyers higher up. Well, where do they know those willing buyers are? Well, at range higher. Why do they know that those willing buyers are at range higher? Because they know that there's stop losses up here. Yeah, they know that they can trigger algos, trigger breakout traders at these levels, right? There's basically this pool of liquidity that they can just happily sell their positions into at a higher price and step away. Now, in the same vein, when we see something like this, price comes outside of this level, we get the deviation, price steps back in the range here. It's just telling us that this isn't considered acceptance above this level yet. People aren't happy. People aren't willing to back Bitcoin enough at this level, at this price. They're still too concerned. So what do we need to see? We need to see a breakout of this level, see it hold on the lower time frames. Then we can trade it higher. All right. So then as we're looking at that there, what are we looking at now? Well, quite simply, if we move these squiggles aside, right, where do we want to be trading all of this? Well, quite simply, if we look at everything where we've had the high probability trades in here, yeah, this whole area through the middle is very, very treacherous, all right, our midline. Why? Because, as my good friend Follis would say, don't diddle in the middle, right? I love that. So it still makes me chuckle today, right? But it's true, your high probability setups are coming from range lows and range highs. So for me, I'm interested initially down at these levels to see what we do at the inside bar low again, but especially down at this swing low, all right, which comes in at 93,400 flat, all right. Those kind of, round numbers should also catch our attention, okay. So price could purge out of this level here. If we see it recover the range, then this circle area here is where I'm interested in going long. Now, the same for the highs here. The first condition I have here is I need to see this, yeah, 4-hour bearish gap closed above. So if we get a 4-hour close above here, then I fully expect price to reach higher and move towards the liquidity pools resting above. And again, what we would be looking for here is one of two plays, all right? Price purges this level, and I really want to see this high taken as well as the inside bar high. We then step back down into here, then that, for me, is when I'm looking to short this back towards, first of all, the midline, as we just discussed, but then the range lows. At the moment, I'm just waiting patiently, unless we're talking about intraday plays, okay? But to be fair, we don't really cover that on the show. Tuesday to Thursday with Trade Club at the Bird Nest, I trade my system live with members. across cryptocurrency markets, across the NASDAQ as well, sometimes across FX. But what we really want to be focused on here are a couple of things, looking at where we can get those good positional plays, and also kind of focused on, okay, where do we get the high probability setups from? Now, the real kind of high probability stuff is coming in when we look at range high and range low here. So I'm just going to zoom this out very quickly to the weekly, all right, and show you where we've got these levels from. So as we look at the chart here, the inside bar pattern, and I won't go into this in too much detail, but you need this large candle here, the first candle, which is the mother bar, requires the second candle to that to close within its range, meaning that it can't take the highs and it can't take the lows, all right? On the closure of this candle, this becomes our inside bar range, and this becomes our mother bar range. It invokes range trading principles across both, meaning that we wait for engagement with those levels on a lower time frame. If I'm looking at this on a weekly, then I want to be framing this on a 4 hour, all right, and probably executing on around about a 15-minute. Now, if we move to the daily really highlights how price has just been, look, we actually just focus on covering the bodies since we stepped into this range here. Let's just do that in a fairly bright color. Yeah. Since we stepped into this on the 4th of February, all price has been doing, look, wicks to the highs, wicks to the lows, wicks to the highs, lows, highs, lows, highs, lows. We're just bouncing around in this range, all right? Now, the good thing about this is these ranges are designed to frustrate people. It's the pure visualization of indecision in the market. So what does that mean? It means that when you see these points of compression, all right, even on small levels like we have here, for example, all right, or even like here before the move down, the longer we have these movements, typically the more explosive the move is the other side. Quite often, if we're going to be bullish here, you see a sharp move to the offside to take liquidity, to draw participants into the market, to induce people to go short, to generate more liquidity, to move the market higher. So at the moment, while we're in this range on Bitcoin, then I'm interested in making plays at these key levels that we highlighted, the inside bar high and low, along with the key liquidity running from the lows and the highs that rest above it and below it, respectively, or from the mother bar high or the mother bar low. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at there. Now, the next point that's quite interesting about this is, especially with a focus on previous cycles, we would be waiting for Bitcoin to make a move higher. We would wait for those points of consolidation. And what you would see is the capital rotation of money moving out of Bitcoin and into more speculative assets. This is where we get our altcoin plays from. All right, now I know everybody's talking about, are we going to get an altcoin season, what's altcoin season going to look like, etc. Well, for me at the moment, I'm really kind of trying to focus on the quality projects, right, to not be too speculative. We saw the market really lead early on with the meme narrative. Now, the problem with memes, as we all know, is they're incredibly high risk plays. They have very little utility, if no utility in the market. So it really is the sign of speculation at its very best. Now, what we want to decant from here is what's going on with Ethereum, okay, and then looking at the alt market. So we're going to take a very quick look here at Bitcoin dominance. Now, as we can see here, Bitcoin dominance starting to move up again. We had this huge spike up recently. Alts obviously got, on this run up, alts were bleeding out pretty hard. What you can do with something like this to give yourself a bit of a visualization is you can go to the little plus button up here. You can add something like Ethereum, for example. Actually, let's do this. All right, and what you can see here as you move this around is you can see when we have the period that we see Bitcoin dominance dropping, you see the price of Ethereum going up. All right, now in the same vein, we can see as the strength steps back into Bitcoin dominance here, how this has just really been hurting Ethereum. And obviously alts, we're using Ethereum as our proxy for altcoins here, but you can add the total charts on this, etc. It just gives you a good visual representation of why we want to see Bitcoin dominance dropping off, because it shows that there's more money coming into the market for altcoins, all right? And then you can look at things like altcoin dominance, you can look at the total charts. Ultimately, what we're seeing here is we, looked at last week, we wanted to see the total charts closing above here. This is what this green kind of blob that's supposed to represent a bullish candle means. We want to see it close above here. We never got that. We never got that change in delivery here. Ultimately, while price is kind of selling off here, it's not really the best conditions to trade alts, especially on kind of an intraday basis. However, it doesn't mean that there aren't huge opportunities still in this market. It doesn't take a lot, and I know we don't even trade it like this really, but this isn't what I mean is this isn't a tradable chart, but we're looking at the key points of absorption. Price was really struggling to get above this level across here for several days before we saw a huge breakout. This retest led to a huge move. This retest led to a big move. This retest led to a big move, and even this wick down. Well, where did that come from? We want to highlight a couple of areas here, right? So I want to look at, first of all, an area like this. And I'm looking at this as a key pivot point, resistance coming in here, support all the way through here. So the total charts are at a point here where you can see how they've been trying to dive down below this, but are actually holding this level quite well. The next thing I want to look at down here, and this is more for what we're going to be looking at for our opportunity on the tokens, is this consolidation, right? Now, focusing really on the down close candles in this area here, identifying these key levels, let's just do this in orange for say, when price kind of comes back down, there's no surprise we saw such a big reaction here, right? So we're going to carry this over now actually onto the altcoins and look at something that Razun and I were actually discussing with members last week on our Thursday show, which we often run together. And that's how do we identify the key areas that led to the big expansive moves on a lot of these tokens, identify quality assets, and then look at the consolidations that led to those big moves and start to say, okay, why would this not be a good position to start adding? All right. Like, for example, I added some Algorand last week. All right. And yes, it's down on the position that I added it on, but my total, my dollar cost average, so my average buy-in price has been going on for a long, long time with that. So I'm happy to add bits and pieces on these dips, right, on levels that I think are key. So we're going to take a look at Algo at the end as well. So before we do that, I do just want to just give you a little bit of a key insight into why I think today, paints a very, very tricky picture for risk. So we have a flat dollar index, but we have a dollar index that's holding the midline of the range at the moment. All right, we've seen that sell off in the dollar. That hasn't quite transpired, or that's the wrong term. That hasn't quite, followed through as we've seen previously with the strength in Bitcoin, but it has been helping the equity markets, especially the indexes, all right, especially the NASDAQ, the S&P 500. So as we look at the dollar index, I'm then looking at the bond markets and I'm saying, okay, what are the US 2 years doing? What are the US 10s doing? Now, this is a key area for me here. Price has really kind of been stuck in and around that. So the US 10-year bonds at the moment are returning 4.441%. Means it's still a pretty decent return for people for a very, very risk limited bid because you're buying government debt from the US, right? Now, these recently were up as high as almost 5%, right, which is very, very high. And then as we look at the twos here as well, we can see they're at 4.2%, recently peaking here around about 4.4. We really want to see these starting to cool off. All right. So if we see the bond markets really kind of, continuing this, we want to see these kind of levels broken, start to see them cooling off a bit. We want to see the dollar continuing its moves down as well. While we see strength in the equity markets here, for example, with the NASDAQ, as well as the S&P 500 representing here by the NQ and the ES contracts, is we want to start seeing some recovery in the indices as well. Now, we have NVIDIA earnings to digest at the moment. Obviously, I don't know if you're all aware of this, but when we saw DeepSeek come in, we had the FUD enter the market and it really smashed the AI stocks, which caused for a big pullback in indexes like the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 because, NVIDIA and the AI stocks, they've really been helping those indexes stay high and continue these really, really big rallies that they've had. If we zoom out here to the weekly, for example, you can just see what a tear this has been on for a long, long time. So why do we interest ourselves with these? Well, we're just trying to paint the picture of whether the market has a really good tolerance for risk at the moment. Are we in good risk on environment, or are we moving to a risk off environment? If typically you're seeing a lot of money moving into the dollar, if you're seeing bond markets really start to rocket, then you can see, that there's maybe a little bit of a risk off sentiment coming in. What we want to see is strong Indices, we want to see the S&P 500, the NASDAQ strong. We want to see technology stocks strong. And we do ideally want to see a stable or weakening dollar and bond markets. Now, it's not just as simple as that, because we have to plug in a lot of other economic factors. And one thing that the markets don't typically like is uncertainty. And we have a lot of that at the moment. We have a lot of it geopolitically. We have a lot of it with Trump coming into the White House, a lot of the noises that are coming out of there, a lot of the tariff news that we have. We had the DeepSeek shock that came and hit the AI market, but actually with NVIDIA earnings, we stand a really good chance, if those earnings come in positive, of seeing a really good catalyst fire up the market in a positive sense, because I don't think the market has really priced in that there'll be a massive negative earnings impact on NVIDIA here. So it should really settle the market at that point, where really the news of China's kind of prominence in that market coming out as well, the shock of that really should have kind of been digested by market participants as we move forward. So with all of that out of the way, let's dive onto some crypto charts, shall we? And let's see if we've got... Here we go. So just utilizing the previous charts we had from last week, right? These are the key areas we were looking for this move potentially to come back down as we look at this on a weekly gap up here, right? We're respecting the up close candles as price is moving lower, and we're failing to close above the down close candles, meaning we understand and we know that price is still delivering in a bearish fashion. That means that shorts are still favored to longs. We've also obviously broken structure on the way down now as well, moving from a higher low to a lower high, below this to a lower low, and now we're continuing to move lower. However, we highlighted this area along here as a key liquidity pool. These trend line lows, or LRLR for anybody that studied ICT, for example. We then see these equal lows lower here as well. So there's still a lot of liquidity resting down here as we look back and zoom out a little bit. This has also been a key kind of pivot point again for price. Resistance through here, large support leading to some really, really expansive moves higher. We lose this level here, retest it, resistance, come above it, establish ourselves, consolidate and move higher. So what else am I looking at here? Well, actually, we're going to look at this on a daily scale too. But what I'm really looking at here is I'm saying, okay, where are these key points of consolidation that have led to these big moves? Now, the origin of this move was down here. All right, because this is where we had the corrective move lower. We had that nice expansive move here, but this consolidation here is really of interest because look at the move that it led higher. All right, so that's why I'm interested to see, and not surprised, sorry, to see that we've got a really good kind of buy zone in here. Yeah, price coming into this, buyers stepping in here, another big move punched away, another really good recovery here. So we can see that we're moving into an area of key support. Now, we've seen this a lot on a lot of the alts, right? Our price has dived into this area and then we've seen that bounce higher. So what we're doing is we're really focusing on these key areas at the moment and saying, okay, is this a quality project? Is this something we see having real longevity in this market? If the very worst case came in and we did head into bear market conditions, and price corrects much lower, say into these levels here, was this a bad area to buy? No, I really do not think that it is. I'm not advocating go out and just start buying Ethereum and leveraging yourselves up. What I'm saying is, as a spot bag ad, then, this thing was easily coming in and testing the early 4K regions, right? Obviously, all the way up here to the all-time high, things looking like it was moving towards 5K. So, if anybody thinks that Ethereum's not going to be around by the next cycle, then probably best to stay away from this. For anybody that thinks that it is, and that's certainly what I would back, then, I'm happy to average in at these levels. So I bought more Ethereum down at this level here. I bought it back here as well. I didn't sell any of it up here. So I'm just adding to my long-term bags at the moment. So this is what we're going to look for as we move into other coins. Now, what we're going to do is forget all this noise in here at the moment, just basically very indicative of what we're seeing here on Bitcoin as well, but we are going to look into this. So as we're in here, we can see the green box here. Well, look what we had here. We have this move to the upside. What did this do? This is a brilliant move, actually. This is so, this embodies crypto perfectly, as well as trading, right? We get this range. So what happens here? Price just kind of chopping around in this range here. Got the range low down here. We've got the range high up here. What do we get? We get this breakout, yeah? Then what happens? Price climbs back in the range. So all these people that went long up here have then been caught out. So then what happens? People are saying, right, well, we're really going down now. We've deviated the range. We're going to break down and this thing's going into oblivion. What then happens? You then get that huge bid come in here and price really rockets. So you see this kind of like double fake out a lot, especially in crypto. Yeah. So again, smaller range example up here. Price ranging along. Yeah. Okay. We've had this drop. Okay. Price has broken out. Great. Those people get flushed out. Okay, fine. People start to go short. What happens then? Bid step in and the price starts to pump. So the shorts get taken out here and people then just get incredibly frustrated. Price then fails to break out of this. So more people step in to short this to the downside. We get that breakout below. Ultimately, what happens? Ends up being a deviation and then you get a huge rip to the upside. So we need to be really cautious when we're looking at these, but it really does highlight how we want to be taking our trades from the very best places. Now, interestingly enough, we can see here that price is kind of forming this range after this large move from the lows. As we can see the highs up here, we can see price basically kind of deviating the high of this range. Yes, if we look at this roughly as our range high here, yeah. And then you're looking down here as you kind of range lows. We've got that deviation now and price has stepped back into the range. People will start to really take on board the sentiment. There's a lot of negative sentiment out there. People are now going to think price does that. And maybe it does. But if it does do that, then this here is where I'm interested. When we get some kind of confirmation breakout, we retest these levels, and then we can enter the market from a point where we've got more information, right? Where I don't really want to just be interested in this is just short this thing here for it to do this and then start to rip, okay? So as we're looking at ETH here, I think we're in this consolidation. This is much more an interest for me in terms of short-term plays, but ultimately we can see that, you know, this level here represented by where these equal highs were run is pretty much capping the market to the upside, all right? And then this kind of green line down here, if you want to take a lower low, this low that was set, rejection through this whole area, this order block here, very small order block, is still propping up the entire market for ETH across here, but it can't quite get itself back above here. In terms of what I'd want to see is quite simple, really. We've now set this high and we've broken out of this. You see all these highs making it through this area. If this wasn't a deviation, I want to see price recover this, get back above this area. And then we can look to trade it to our higher time frame area of interest, which is the weekly gap. All right. So at the moment, really is a case of just being a little bit patient, you know, sitting on our hands for want of a better term and just waiting to take trades from the high probability areas. All right. So let's take a look at a few others. One I really want to show you guys actually is the ADS token. So this is a company that really impressed us when they came onto the market. And I'm just trying to see where we maybe did. Yes, where we had this on from before. So let's just, you know what, let's just, again, these areas here just showing key areas, key pivot points, support and resistance, right? So obviously when you come back through these kind of areas, you're watching to see how price reacts. So here, for example, we break out. Do we overtake that high? We don't. What happens? We then purge lower, retest this same area as resistance, allowing you to get on board with shorts. But let's do this completely fresh. All right, so we've got a nice clean chart. So as we look out here on the weekly, the reason that I quite like this here is price is coming into two areas that I'm really interested in. One is this, which is this consolidation here, all right? And this is before price really moved a lot higher last time. I mean, look at this. This was the consolidation that led to this pump, right? And then the next area I'm interested in is here. So for me, this is coming into two really key areas of interest. We also have this here, right, which is kind of embodied by this zone that we've seen these large moves off. And you can say, yeah, fine, BC, but this thing's just right at the bottom. But this is where you want to buy, for Christ's sake. People are always too scared to buy down here. Then they want to buy up here. Then they get wiped out. And then you just hear nothing but negative sentiment about, oh, it's a scam. Oh, it's a scam. Then they short down here and the price moves up and then they get taken out. People are over leveraged. That's just how this market works. That is the transfer of capital between educated players and ill-educated players, right? Yes, of course, like with any market, there's luck, there's timing, there's systems involved, there's so many different points of nuance. But ultimately, you know, the game is buy low and sell high. And you can say, yeah, that's just far too simple. But if you can identify the key areas in a market, let's just say on a on a broader scale, right? Looking through this market, okay, where was a good buy here, here, all the way through here, definitely here. So where do I want to be a buyer again? I definitely want to be a buyer here, right? I actually think that this thing has the potential to move if we get the right catalyst, from Bitcoin, Ethereum, and from the equity markets as well. But this move here definitely has me interested. The down move before this huge pump, the same way that this does. So I'm watching those as well. Now, if I'm looking this on the other side, I'm saying, well, where are the key areas that I'm kind of concerned with, or not concerned with, but where I would look at, mitigating, or where I would want this to pump to? I'm going to look at that and I say, yeah, why? Because look, prices couldn't close above here. Focusing on these wicks, when we moved into this area again, you maybe kind of move it down to embody like this now if you want to. For me, I don't like the areas to be too broad, especially on a weekly scale. These are the key big moves for me, all right? But then there's this through the middle, right? So if I'm looking for, okay, where are the upside wicks here? I can see a load of them through here. You could even take your horizontal line tool here, which you can find on your toolbar on the side. And then if you want to add it to this favorites bar at the bottom, which you can move around, you just need to click the star, all right? So take this and just visually look through and say, okay, well, where can I get this to touch as many of these wicks as possible, yeah? And then look for the downside wicks and the upside wicks. So you've got all these downside wicks here, all right? If we focus on kind of getting all of them that we can, yeah? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we look to this side and say, okay, how many of these can we get? And we go, okay, we've got pretty much all of these through here. If you want to kind of move it a little bit lower to cover that as well, you're saying, okay, how many of those do we lose? Then what you can do is you can take your box tool here and you can say, okay, well, if I want to cover all of those here, that looks pretty damn good to me. You can take the line away. And now where I'm really interested here is this level. So why this? Because look, rejection, rejection, rejection. What do we have here? Deviation. Price closed underneath. Look at the retest. Higher wick. Price driving down to the lows. So now I understand the key areas here that I want to be involved. All right. And I really do think when you look at the projects, I really do recommend that anybody looks into Alchemy and the ADS token, right? They're really shaking up the world of advertising. I think personally, this is a sector that for me, coming from a very business heavy background and investing at a very different level that wasn't, necessarily digital there, and also from running and exiting a large digital marketing company, I've seen this space ripe for disruption for a long time. And I think these guys are the ones that are really well set up to do it. So as I'm looking at that there, I've got those key kind of levels. Now what I'm watching here is I'm saying, okay, this is definitely an area of interest for me here. All right, and I'm sure if we drag this back, you can see a bit messy through here, but ultimately this consolidation that led to price high acted as support through here. We lose this area. Maybe we make that a little bit larger here. Price gets underneath, rejection. So support, resistance, resistance, resistance. What happens here? Price gets above, then holds this area, and then we see that shift in structure higher, support through here as well. Now we're back here. So for me, I'm saying, look, I've got two options. I can add some here, yeah, which I'm happy to do, and openly I am doing. So that's fine for me because we've swept out some lows. I think we're at a good level. If we break down from here, I'm not going to worry. I'm going to add some more down here. This is the real key area. I'd love to see price down here. I just don't know if we get it. So I'm mitigating that risk by adding some here, because if price then does this, then I'm involved. I've got more skin in the game, and I've got that at a very good level, all right? If, however, I want to be super cautious and I'm willing to take the risk and be left behind, then I can obviously look to step in down here, right? So I wanted to cover that for you guys because this is a project that I've got a lot of faith in, and actually a few people that I know incredibly well and have huge amounts of respect for, including obviously members of my team over at the Bird Nest, are really, really, really invested and just backed into this project. And we've had a lot of exposure to the team. We've had some wonderful chats with them as well. It's just one of those projects that I just think has huge upside potential. So I always need to match that with, with key technical levels. That's how I trade, right? So this is what I'm looking at. Okie doke. So we're going to cover ZIL, SOL, and Algo, and let's see where we are on those. So let's take a look at ZIL. Awesome. Let's have a look on here. Let's zoom out and take a look at the weekly. What are we looking at on the weekly? Wow. Immediately what stands out to me here, right, is this. Now, I'm looking for these key levels that lead to these large expansive moves, either higher or lower. And then I'm looking for the other side of that move to see what areas acted as key resistance and support. So again, we're going to take a horizontal line. And I'm going to say, okay, for me through here, if I'm focused on these kind of downside wicks here, I'm saying really this is kind of a level where we saw the support, we saw little moves up, large deviation, price gets back involved, retest, and then this thing flies. So as we look back across here, we now want to make that area make even more sense by encompassing ideally all these wicks. You know, you don't have to drag it as low as this here. I just think that there was a very pronounced move away from this, and this order block was then set back within this area. So I quite like this being a little bit deeper. However, you could absolutely, you know, move that up to here and just using it to encompass, to embody, sorry, and enclose all these wicks. Either way, again, we're just at this kind of key level here. One thing I would say is this was where I was really interested, or this is where I would be really interested in this is here. That's the really big consolidation there. And we're kind of in it. I know on a weekly scale it's a big area, but I'm not looking at this to try and snipe entries at this point. I'm just asking myself, has this proven a good buying opportunity over time? Consolidation that led to this huge move. Buys in here worked well, buys in here worked well, buys in here worked well, buying here worked well. So, you know, again, you've got to ask yourself the question, is this area going to hold? If it doesn't, then this really here is the next area that I'm interested in getting involved in ZIL, because that was the origin of the move higher. Kind of had this consolidation here, and this led to the biggest pump, which is why I'm most interested in this area. But we want to be looking to hold this area, and ultimately, as we look at that, we can see we've got our kind of support and resistance level here. So again, if we look at this across the line, we can see we haven't managed any closes below this area. Came very, very close through here. Ultimately, we see those downside wicks starting to form, then we see that absorption. On a weekly scale, if we are going to hold this area, where do I think it's heading for next? I think we're heading for this weekly gap. So if we now move to the daily in terms of looking for positioning, what would I want to see? Well, quite simply, if I'm looking at this, we'll focus on the daily charts for these as well, because I do think that the market's a lot more about positioning at the moment than it is entering leverage plays. Okay, certainly from my perspective, it's just still a little bit too treacherous. But while we're kind of holding this level, then I want to see some kind of structure shift. Yeah, so we've set a higher low here. There's our high. So can we get back above this, drive into this gap, look at the 50% area of this gap. Then ultimately we want to see this gap moved above here. We do want to see a weekly close above that, right? But we can see we've got overlaid bullish gaps through this area as well. We want to see these violated. It's a very simple kind of premise of looking for resistance to then turn to support, right? If these areas are supposed to be rejecting price, then ultimately what we want to see is them not be rejecting price anymore. And that gives us an indication that price is willing to move. For example, we look across here at this last move higher. What did we see? Well, price starts trending down here. We see the bearish order blocks like this up close candle here, defending price lower, right? What does it do? Price closes below, retests it, sells off, all right? We see exactly the same thing through here and also through here. Price closes below here, retests this, sells off. Price closes below the next up close candle down at the bottom here. Yeah, what does it do? Closes below it, retests it, sells off. At what point does that all change? Well, we're also looking at our gaps here as well, right? Because we expect that our bearish gaps are going to reject price. So when we see this bearish gap here, just redraw that. Yeah, just do it in red so it stands out. The expectation is price is going to do this. Price draws back down, takes liquidity from the lows, draws back to the gaps, which are our internal liquidity, and then continues to sell off. Unless we close above it like we did here. And our first expectation here is we've inverted this. We now look for this to cause support. This candle also on closing gave us even more indication it was ready to move higher because it had reacted at this bullish gap. See how it wicked down? Buyer stepped in, came above here. Then what we're looking for is for all of these down close candles to be confirmed as a bullish order block. And this candle did actually close above it. But even if we were waiting for this one here, This is creating our base. What has it done? It's swept liquidity from the lows. We've purged lower. We've had a strong breakout with displacement, violating bearish gaps, getting support from bullish gaps, and setting bullish order blocks. You can tell that the market's starting to change here. So that's what we want to see over here. We want to see a carbon copy of this over here. So what does that look like? Well, quite simply, I really wouldn't be against seeing something like this. So price taking out this low, moving higher, finding support above these down closed candles, which would set our bullish order block. Ideally, we get some kind of bullish gap here for confirmation, and that's where we look to long. Don't just have to be blindly throwing into these markets at the moment. If you don't have that conviction in the project or the fundamental knowledge about it, then what you want to be doing is saying, okay, you want to give yourself every chance from a technical level as well. Demi along, we're going to zero. Yeah, some things might. I certainly don't think that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a lot of quality projects are anywhere near that at the moment, not with kind of an equity market in the shape that it is, not with the fiscal deficit that the US has, meaning that you're going to have to see some kind of quantitative easing come into plan soon, meaning the money printers go on, meaning that people have more money to speculate, meaning that markets move heavily into a risk-on environment, meaning that crypto typically and historically does very, very well in those scenarios. So, calling for price to break down from here, I understand, but calling for this to go lower here, of course it can. It can go a lot lower from here, but this is not the place to short, right? And I don't think we're going to zero. And I don't know enough about ZIL from a technical perspective, but I do know that, it's still got a long way to go back down from here. And how often people have called for these markets to die, here, for example, only to see the phoenix rise from the ashes. At the end of the day, mate, we don't ever know completely, right? So that's why we try and overlay news, fundamentals, technicals, have a good handle on macroeconomics. If that's a little bit beyond you or you don't have interest in it, find people who are really good at it, find really good communities like we've got over at the Bird Nest, and then draw on their experience. But ultimately, we all have our different theories. We just need to overlay strategy onto that, as well as a little bit of common sense, factor in the news, factor in the key things that we need, and then we make our decisions. We're ultimately internet speculators, right? Anthony, hello, my friend. Where am I investing in crypto or the NASDAQ? Well, a lot of that is very much dictated by your country, all right? So here in the UK, I used to trade traditional markets with Pepperstone. I now work for proprietary companies, okay? So I get funded by firms to invest on their behalf. I trade exclusively for members over at the Bird Nest when it comes to cryptocurrency, and I use a variety of exchanges. Used to use Binance, Bybit. I've been using Apex quite a lot recently as well, who I found a really, really good experience over there from a decentralized point of view, as well as companies like DYDX as well. But obviously you have to check your jurisdiction, you have to check what you can trade, what the legalities are, obviously look at things from a tax perspective as well. So, just make sure that you're looking into that first of all. And with traditional markets, you've either got the proprietary angle that you can go for, find a really good prop company, send them your assessment, send them your proof of trading. They normally want about a year's worth of books for that. Loadvig, hello, my friend. Where's my focus? Okay, my focus at the moment, actually, I'm an intraday trader. That's how I make my living day to day. I do invest in that as well. I do also swing trade, obviously. I'm not swing trading in these conditions. I'm typically trading a lot of equity markets. So focus at the moment is on the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, as well as positioning myself, as we're covering here, on good alts. Like I say, buying up some ADS at the moment, I think is a good time also to add some Ethereum. We're going to now actually move across and we're going to take a look at Sol as well here. So let's pop onto this one. But yeah, I always mix both, and I build systems that cover both as well. Demi, yeah, of course. Oh, okay, lovely bit of insight here from Demi. Thank you very much. Let's pop that up on the screen. Can we do an XRP chart, please? Of course we can, and thank you so much for asking so politely. Hearing good things on Binance Square this morning. Love that little bit of intel there. We'll definitely take a look at XRP. Right, so, okay, here we are on Solana. What's Solana doing? Is Solana an area that I'm really interested in buying this? Again, if we're looking at our principles here, we're looking at these down moves that lead to these really big pumps. So we're going to take a look at that a little bit closer on a daily scale. If I'm looking at kind of a pivot point here, I'm kind of saying to myself, all right, that's a good level here on the weekly. I do think we can come down quite a lot further here. Let's just pop this in. Yeah, I do think that we can come down. Ozzy, how you doing, my friend? So late evening. I bet it's late with you as well, though, mate. So you are always a welcome face to see on the stream, my friend. I hope life's treating you well. So, excuse me. Looking at this, we've got a lot of liquidity resting under these, right? When you look at these trendline lows, LR, for example, it's all about price leaving these untapped lows in this case, or excuse me, or when price is looking to move higher, as we saw in here, leaving these untapped highs, or these failure swings. So I do think price can happily purge down into this. It doesn't look like it's having the best reaction here at the moment. If we look at this consolidation point here, this is how I would normally just draw an order block. Right now, high probability ones, you want to see them kind of sweep some form of liquidity first. Ultimately, we'd look at that on the lower time frames around about the daily, but this down close candle here before this move higher, we see was very important here and here in these resurgent moves. So now we've taken liquidity below here. Can this area continue to hold? I think if we start seeing closing below here, chances are even higher we kind of come back to this key point. Now, identifying these areas is really important because you can see that when we got here, as soon as we got acceptance above it, then Solana's not come back below this. This has just provided really good buying opportunity. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here on Solana on a weekly scale. Now, on a daily scale, this I found really interesting here as well. Now, this is kind of the origin of the move, which we can see this recent pump, which is down in here. However, this was the origin of the most violent move, right? Violence in the very best use of the term. So if I'm looking to kind of get all of this area involved here, then, again, this was the down move that led to price moving higher. I like these reactions here. Decent pump here, and then it grinds its way up. This was a brilliant reaction. This was nice as well, right? Price dipped into this and we saw that big bounce, but ultimately, market conditions and a lot of other factors meant that it was just too heavy, and price is now coming down into this area. And what we're doing in here is we're holding this area, all right, which isn't really the best of signs. However, as long as, or not holding it, but we're holding within it, chopping around it. Look how quickly we moved away from this. Look how quickly we moved away from this and this. Now price is almost getting comfortable in here, right? So again, what we want to see with situations like this is we want to see some liquidity taken. And then what we want to see here is we want to see these down closed candles here closed above this area used as support. And then we can look to trade this higher. If not, and we continue to break down here, then I'm very interested to see how price closes below this low. If it does, I then really want to see price kind of come down, close below here, look to retest this area before I would then look for trades, down to here. Or, that's intraday basis or very, very short term, aggressive swing positions. But then this is where I'm really looking to add in terms of, my long-term holdings. That's where I am on Solana. Let's take a look at Algo, because this is where this became really super interesting for me here. So, okay, we've got a nice clear chart here, actually. So this is perfect. So this is why I bought Algo here. Just on a daily scale. I really like this area. Okay, again, consolidation that led to a really big rip from here. Great reaction here. Very solid reaction here. It looked like the start of it anyway. But again, this is why we want to wait for price to give us some indications. We just got bearish gaps above here. We wanted to see price kind of really start to drive into these to start creating some market structure shifts on the lower time frame before kind of pushing up. This is why I bought some more Algorand here. Again, really happy to continue buying this lower. If we zoom this out to the weekly, I think people would kind of look at you and go, you'd be absolutely mad to be buying this down here, but I'd be a very happy buyer of this down here. At the end of the day, I'm not a fundamental analyst, so what I do is I surround myself with some of the very best in the industry, one of our very own, Chris, crypto assessor, but as well as some amazing people in the space who I'm always learning stuff from. My dear friend Edge Runner as well, who's really good at these kind of things, as well as like QBS. But on the other side of things, non-TBM members, people like, Crypto Kazi, who's just got such a good read on these kind of things, and Pitt, who introduced me to Charles FX as well, who is a really, really top guy. Again, I don't have any association with these guys, but my God, I'm absolutely making sure that I'm learning a lot from them. And then I want to plug in what I do, what my specialty is, or how I make my living, which is technical trading. All right. So again, that's an area that I'm interested in here. The other reason I'm interested in this area here is if I drag it back, a couple of things. One, we can see that this kind of area here, even all the way back to here, you know, key area of support. It was resistance through here, support through here, support through here, lose this area, resistance, resistance. So I really want to see this area kind of hold as support. And for Algo to tell me that it just hasn't got it in it to make it any lower than this. If it does, then, you know, ultimately I'm happy to be a buyer lower down. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I lick my wounds and I move away, which is why we have to have a strict risk management policy so we're not exposing ourselves too much. Now, as I'm looking at this here, I can see all these kind of factors. The other thing I've got here is the mitigation from this point. This is a very reasonable sell-off here in price. Something caused this immediate down move. So basically what we're saying here is failed to get acceptance above this level, and then people were like, okay, actually, you know, this asset's overpriced. It's going to move lower until it finds a level where it's agreed acceptable. And that was ultimately this consolidation before price moved higher. Craigie boy, absolutely great to have you, mate. You take care. Have a great week. Hopefully see you around the nest and certainly see you on the live show on Wednesday, I'm sure. And join us. Hug a bear. Love it. If you have time after these, I'd appreciate links. What about it's feeling heavy? Wonder if I should just cut this by link. Yeah, sure. We'll make time. We'll just quickly run through link at the end as well. We're going to have to put a pin in it there, guys, because I'm already in danger. Well, I say in danger. I'm already running over. So quick sip of some lukewarm tea, and then we're going to rip through. Right, boom. So, point of mitigation, what does that mean? Well, look, basically, as we're looking for here, we're looking for the down close candles that led to the pump higher. What we're looking for here is these up close candles, yeah, that led to the south. Now, we've got a lot of them in here, and this one is very small. However, I'm looking at this kind of area here, this consolidation at the top as we draw that across, as a potential area of mitigation, right? So, what do I mean by that? Well, this move here for me, yeah, this move here and this move here that led to these big sell-offs are key areas. So look, if these were the up moves that then led to price selling off before, I want to see price hold these areas and turn what ultimately were areas of weakness for price previously into support. So again, some structural shifts in here, some down closed candles closed above, and then we want to see price coming after this liquidity. I think we can get out of this area quite quickly and start targeting these inefficiencies, but we do need to see price hold on here. Foreign trades, crypto, you're very welcome, my friend. So that's where I am on Algo. XRP for our friend Demi. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is really interesting because this is actually holding up really well. We see on a weekly scale, this was just a huge, you know, obviously we had the situation with the court case as well. A lot of people then kind of took this, stepped into it. But again, look at this mass consolidation that was down here. Yeah. Again, the longer we compress in these areas, we saw it previously here, right? When we pop, again, consolidation, huge pop, massive consolidation, big pop. Massive consolidation, huge pop, this time backed by news and real positive catalysts. So on a weekly scale, we're kind of still holding this weekly gap. We've swept liquidity below these lows. And at the moment, we're kind of just ranging around, right? This obviously isn't perfect, but if we're looking at it as a kind of range, then you've kind of got this capping the lows and something like this kind of taking out the highs. Now, price, every time it comes into these levels, seems like a really good buy. Up here, you kind of want to be a little bit cautious until we get that breakout. Moving on to the daily, we're kind of just in the middle here, right? This is my kind of concern at the moment. And we do have like a bit of a midline running through here as well. If we just take it from here, a little bit messy, but we can see deviation aside down here. Yeah, resistance turns support here. Deviation, price got back above, and what we're hoping here, or for people, investors in XRP, is that this is kind of finding support in here, ready to move higher. Now, there is that kind of adage that we're kind of in the middle of the range here, all right? So we do really want to be careful. What I would say and what I'd be waiting for in terms of some kind of confirmation here is looking at how price reacts, you know, down at lows like this. You want to see some long downside wicks, some strong recoveries, and then we could be looking at the early stages of a move. However, for extra confirmation here, I'd be wanting to look at this bearish gap I want to see price close above this, and then I think we really start kind of moving up again towards these highs. Ultimately, this is where I'm interested in accumulating XRP, right? So we're a fair bit lower to go yet, but it doesn't mean that we have to come down here. This move again, like we've seen on a lot of alts, we've seen that big purge and then that large recovery. If I want to be super granular with this, then I'm going to move it down following exactly the same principles, but just looking to trade this more on like an intraday basis, moving into a swing position, meaning that I'd want to see violations of this here and then price to build some structure, moving its way into these equal highs. As it starts to drive into here, then by that point you're involved in a trade around about here. You can mitigate, you can move your stops up, you can take the risk off the table, or you can just put, you know, some hard stops on your spot positions here, and then wait to see if this area then gets flipped to support as well. But yeah, with XRP in terms of spot bags and that, I'm really looking at this. I'm a little bit concerned about these at the moment when we're looking, you know, for liquidity. However, we've just swept out a key low. This was the, you know, the low that led to this move higher. So if we do have a good recovery here and get back above this, maybe we're ready to step back in. Nick, see you later, my friend. I'll see you around Trade Club for the rest of the week. Let's get after it. So that's where I'm with XRP. I hope that's been helpful there, Demi. And then one more, and we have to shut it down, I'm afraid, ladies and gents. But let's take a look at our old friend Link. What's Link doing? Well, again, Link's kind of at that point. I mean, this is the real key consolidation. So look at that. And then price just absolutely ripped. And then when you look at what happens when that consolidation was retested here. Yeah, that here then led to this big move higher. So now the plan is, or what I'm thinking is, okay, well, where would be a no-brain buy for me here? Just this consolidation, right? That whole area for me is just a bit of a no-brainer. And again, when you see those kind of areas, if you kind of follow it back, you know, it's not perfect, but you can see a large expansion. Price then changes here, holds this area really well. When ultimately price pays this no respect, and you see price starting to carve through these levels like they're nothing, you know, when price is stuck under here, you've got to wait for it to have that strong recovery. You know, you'll hear me say things like, we want to see strong closes and displacement. What does that look like? Well, this is displacement. Price is moving higher, leaving these gaps, leaving these inefficiencies. And as we do so, you're moving up higher. You see these full body big candles. This is what's kind of giving me that indication that price is ready to move higher. So that's really where I want to be focused on here with Link. And that kind of starts, you know, in and around maybe the $12.5 region. Again, it does not mean that price can't just react here and smash a ton higher. But what it does mean is that the high probability or good spot positions for me are definitely found in there. Now let's look at the daily though, because we don't want to discount that. And again, we can see, look, there's the down move. Let me zoom in for you. There's the down move. Price consolidates, then we get that massive rip higher. All right. So there we've got that nice move. And then look how price starts to stack. Yeah. Down close candles. What happens? Price moves higher, finds a nice bullish gap, moves higher again. Down close candles, closed above. Price finds a bullish gap, moves higher. Down close candles being respected. Lo and behold, another bullish gap here. Yeah. Price drives into this and then it moves higher. So this is the kind of structure that we want to see building through here. And all we're doing at the moment is the opposite. Up close candles respected, bearish gap, price moving lower. And we're just seeing these up close candles getting respected all the way down through here. So we need to see that change. And the first point I really have interest in seeing that happen is the low of this wick. And I might be wrong on this, but Link seems a lot closer to this wick low here and a very different structure here than a lot of the other alts. I put a post out about it last week for all the Link Marines out there. Just such a fantastic community. Real big part of when I came over into crypto, Link was one of the really big things. And there's such a great community of people over there, you know, real believers in this project, and rightly so. So what I'm looking for now is for price to kind of take some key liquidity below this low. And then let me just clean this up a little bit. And then what I want to see is the opposite happen. So like I said to you, through here, we can just see that when we close below these up close candles, price retests it and then price sells off. We get a close below the up close candles here, price retests it and sells off. Now we want to see the opposite. Yeah. We want to see the down close candles get closed above, price respect them and start to move up. Yeah. Like that. And then you start to build this staircase that's telling you, okay, there's some consistency coming in, there's some buyers coming in. Then I would consider maybe having some kind of leverage positions on there. If not, again, this area down here, I think is really key. But I do think there's a lot of liquidity resting below these lows here on Link. And that low here is around about 15.607. All right, legends. So before we close out for the day, and once again, thank you so much for listening to me ramble on for just over an hour now. I do want to remind you to just get yourself over, if you've got any interest at all, get yourself onto Crypto Burb. That's crypto_burb. That's BIRB. All right, get yourself over onto his profile. If you're not subscribed already and you can afford to do so, it's just $1. It puts you into the hyper giveaways, and you're going to have loads of information about to launch about that soon as well. Huge congratulations to our previous winner. This is potentially life-changing money you can win on this. You don't do anything for it, all right? Just being a member, a subscriber, sorry, is more than enough. But the important thing, the thing I'm really excited about here, is that we're opening and starting a 30-day program to get you back on your feet. We're going to teach you how our professional trading team trade. You'll get access to my trading strategy. You'll get access to Burb's actual trading strategy as well as the indicator that uses the Burbicator Pro, all right? And let me just pop this on over here for you as well. I use it in its very most simplistic way, the B Pro, but it's got so many incredible standalone features as well. So all I can do is kind of encourage everybody to come along, give this a go, yeah? And let me just show you this very quickly before we close out for the day. You can see over here my invite-only scripts. Now, this is a really, really important indicator, all right? Because it's a trend-based following indicator. In fact, you know what? I'm going to let you guys investigate it for yourselves. Focus on getting yourself involved in this. Get yourself over. Share the post. You can see you have to do this on Crypto Burb's profile. Just go along. All you need to do is like it, share it, and comment, all right? If you're a subscriber, you will be given priority because there are limited spaces, but we have opened a lot beyond that as well. We do typically get subscribed in the thousands or sometimes double-digit thousands of people when we do these kind of, giveaways, and when we do these kind of get back on your feet boot camps and bits and pieces. But please do take advantage of it, guys. Come and make the most of the Discord. Come, you get access to all of the trading team calls as well. Been profitable 18 out of 19 months now. All of our statistics and everything are printed, and they're all available for members as well. So do come along and get involved. With that note, I just want to thank everybody again. Great to have you all with us. I will be live again on Wednesday with you all, and we'll be live throughout the week for members, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So please do come along and have a look. Get yourself on there. And we did have a comment earlier as well about how to get access to Discord. All you have to do is go through, like, share, and comment on that. The team will go through, find everybody that's been involved in that, and then we will explain how you can just go ahead and get your access to Discord, as well as the amazing bootcamp that we've got going up. All right. Huge thank you to everyone. Have a wonderful week ahead. I'll catch most of you again on Wednesday, and I'll catch a lot of you legends on our live trading show tomorrow. Have a fantastic week ahead. I look forward to seeing you all around the nest.